Chapter 2, The farewell days became weeks. Weeks became months. The greatest witch in history slowly discovered a life she had never imagined. She learned to plant vegetables instead of studying battle formations. She learned the names of birds instead of ancient incantations. She laughed more in Grayson's little cottage than she had in all her years within the royal palace. Somewhere between sunrise harvests and quiet evenings, beneath the stars, Isabella fell in love. And Grayson loved her just as deeply. She knew what that love would eventually cost. Every smile brought her closer to losing the magic that had defined her entire life. Yet for the first time, she welcomed the price. She decided it was finally time to tell King Virgil, only to discover he already knew. When Isabella entered the king's study, Virgil dismissed every attendant. Only the two of them remained. "You've come to tell me you're retiring," he said quietly. She lowered her eyes. "Yes, your majesty. I know about the farmer." She looked up in surprise. "You know, I've known for months." Silence filled the room. Virgil walked toward the palace window, overlooking the kingdom they had built together. "I thought I would be happy for you." His voice was calm. "But when I heard another man's name spoken beside yours, something inside me refused to accept it." He clenched the windowsill. "I don't understand it. I have never loved you as a man loves a woman. At least, I never believed I did." He gave a quiet, bitter laugh. "But now that you're leaving, it hurts. It hurts far more than it should." Only then did Isabella understand. It was not love born from longing. It was the unbearable realization that the person who had stood beside him through every victory, every defeat, every impossible decision, would no longer be there. Queen Rachel noticed the change almost immediately. For years, she had wished Isabella would leave the palace. Now that wish was finally within reach. She encouraged the king's decision. "The kingdom is peaceful now," Rachel reminded him. "Lady Isabella has earned the life she desires." Yet whenever Virgil prepared to approve her retirement, he found another reason to delay it. Another report requiring Isabella's judgment. Another council meeting. Another inspection. Another excuse. Each one sounded reasonable. Each one hid the same truth. He simply wasn't ready to let her go. Far beyond the capital, Grayson began noticing strange changes. Royal tax collectors appeared for the first time. His permits were questioned. Merchants who once bought his harvest suddenly canceled their orders. Road inspections delayed his deliveries. Nothing severe enough to ruin him. Only enough to make every week a little harder than the last. Grayson couldn't understand why. He had lived quietly for years. He had never offended anyone, least of all the crown. He shared his worries only with Isabella. She listened in silence. Deep inside, she already knew. Someone in the palace was trying to keep her from leaving. Months later, King Virgil finally summoned Isabella one last time. "I can no longer ask you to stay." The words felt heavier than any command he had ever spoken. "You've given this kingdom everything. You deserve the life you chose." He placed a small leather pouch upon the table. Inside were hundreds of royal silver coins, a gift. Nothing more. There will be no ceremony. No farewell procession. You once told me that heroes should leave quietly. So leave quietly." Isabella smiled sadly. "Thank you, my king." She bowed one final time. Not as the first high mage. Not as the hero of the kingdom, but as the friend who had walked beside him for nearly half his life. After she disappeared beyond the palace doors, Virgil remained alone in the empty chamber. Only then did he allow himself to whisper the words that would forever remain unheard. "How could I have been so blind? You stood beside me through war. You carried this kingdom when I could no longer stand. You gave me your youth, and I never once asked what you wanted in return." His eyes drifted toward the window where Isabella had vanished from sight. If only I had understood sooner, I would have begged you to stay. Not as my high mage, not as my advisor, simply by my side. But the realization had come too late. For the first time since becoming King, Virgil understood that some victories could never undo a single regret. And some people could only be truly missed once they were already gone.